Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name is James and welcome back to another video. So I'm very excited to be bringing you this video, and it's actually the comparison between two heavy hitters from Grand Seiko. Now, just having the opportunity alone to, handle these watches is incredible, but to have them both at the same time is just amazing in itself. So I want to say a big thank you to Andy for lending me these watches to do a review and also sell on his behalf. So both of these watches are for sale. So feel free to email me. My email is down below, or it's iskibble.talkswatches@gmail.com. But before we dive into this video, I just want to say that I'm recording this after recording about 3 videos and doing many takes, so I'm very tired. So please forgive me if I'm slurring my words, or I'm talking too fast, or I just look dead. But anyway, today I'm wearing the Horus Arctic GT. Again, I love this watch. I think it's my best watch in my collection, hands down. But yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover the basics of each watch, and whilst I do that, probably showcase a bit of what comes with each watch and everything like that. But don't forget, I have done an unboxing and first impressions, and also an in-depth review of both of these watches. The links will be in the description for those two if you haven't seen them already. I highly advise watching both of them before watching the comparison, so you know a bit more detail about each of these watches, because I go more into detail in the reviews, and this is more just a comparison of the two. So anyway, both of these retail at a whopping £5,500, which I'll get onto in a minute. So let's just get onto the dimensions. The Snowflake has a case size of 40.5mm, a case thickness of 12.5mm, a look-to-look width or span of 48mm, and a look size of 20mm, whereas the GMT has a case size of 40mm, a thickness of 14mm, a look-to-look size of 46mm, and look sizes of 19mm. Now, the movement that the Snowflake is rocking is the 9R65, which is the spring drive movement. I go into a lot more detail about the spring drive movement in my review of the watch, so make sure you check that out if you want to know more about that. Whereas the GMT is rocking the 9S86, which is the GMT high beat movement, which is a really cool movement. So they both have sapphire crystals both on the front and back of the watch, and they are both water resistant to 100 meters, which is ideal. So before we go into the differences, I just want to discuss a little bit about Grand Seiko and what I think of Grand Seiko as a brand. Now, I think the watches that they provide at the price is incredible, and I can't stress that enough. I think it's absolutely incredible. You're getting hand-finished, hand-regulated, hand-checked watches by professional watchmakers in Japan. They're completely assembled in Japan, and if I'm not mistaken, most of it is made in Japan itself as well. So first off, that's incredible. And also them being hand regulated and checked for 17 days and hand polished and hand finished. If you had put any other brand name on this watch, let's be it Seiko, Patek, anything like that, you could literally charge probably 5 times the retail price that they're currently charging, and people would buy them. It's just absolutely incredible, the value of which they're offering. But it doesn't have Rolex or Patek or any other brand written on it. It has Seiko. And do I think that affects the brand image? Yes, I think it affects it a lot, and it affects it a lot more than people are willing to talk about or willing to openly say. With their recent change at Baselworld 2017, they've announced that they're no longer putting Seiko on the dial, and Grand Seiko is completely separate to Seiko. I think that's a very good move, and it's a very good marketing move as well. But that being said, Seiko's still in the word Grand Seiko, and I think it really does draw a lot of weight. When you have a brand that literally makes £30 watches, £30 quartz watches, and £50 mechanical watches, up to now doing £8,500, or was it like $13,000 diving watches, it's just, there's too much play here. And them splitting them off is a great thing, and it's a great start, but I just think there's too much play. And I said it in my review of the GMT that I think Grand Seiko would have had a lot more success if they targeted more towards Oris to Tudor level. Within that price range of maybe £1,500 to £4,000 max. Now, would that mean you don't get the hand finishing, the hand regulation, the 17 days of check, this, that, and the other? Yes, it would probably mean you wouldn't get all that within that price range, because that would be ridiculous. But what it does mean is that they're a lot more accessible, and they can reduce that sort of stuff and just create the best watch they can at that price range, and I think they'd kill it. I think if Grand Seiko was priced more around that range, I think they would kill it. And I struggle to see Grand Seiko really going in the direction that they're trying to go in, because I just don't know anyone who's going to pay $13,000 for a ceramic dive watch. I'm struggling to see which direction they're trying to go with their brand and what they're trying to achieve. And I know a lot of people agree with me, and I also know a lot of people really disagree with me, which is awesome because it means that no one really knows what the hell is going on with the brand. And it's going to be very exciting to see where they end up in the next few years. And I think Grand Seiko are in the position where Tudor were in the 90s before they had this huge marketing revamp in, I think it was like 2013 in the American market or whenever it was, where all of a sudden they became this like everyone should get a Tudor kind of brand. And it no longer became this thing that you got because you couldn't afford a Rolex. So I think they're kind of in that sort of category at the moment where they're just trying to get their grip on the market and get their name out there to where people respect them enough. Because now I think they're struggling, and that's just me personally. Now, to my argument, a lot of people will say that's where the Presage line is at, that's what their price range is at, and yes, I agree. I think the Presage line is incredible, and I think they're beautiful watches, but maybe that should become Grand Seiko. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. I just don't think they're going to do very well or are doing very well at the moment. In the Asian market, they're doing okay. In the Western market, they're doing terribly, and that's actually a fact. So that's just my forte on it. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion of them as a brand. I just thought I'd throw that in there for the comparison, just to get some context on how I feel about the brand. Now, I love the watches. I made that very clear in my reviews. I had nothing but good things to say with very few bad things to say about each watch. But let's just get straight into the comparison. So, the first thing you notice when picking up both of these watches is the material difference. And what that comes across in is 1, the looks, and 2, the weight. And the weight is the most substantial thing. The GMT has a real weight to it, and it feels like quality. You know, you pick it up and you can feel the quality. Whereas the Snowflake, being fully titanium, it is just light as a feather or light as a snowflake. And that is brilliant, and it really goes well with what they're trying to achieve with the watch. But overall, I just can't help but feel it leaves a lot to be desired as someone who doesn't like titanium. If you like titanium, you're going to love the Snowflake because it's incredible. If you don't like titanium, or you like to be able to feel your watches on your wrist, you're probably going to be like me where you really dislike the Snowflake. So for me personally, the GMT just wipes the floor with it, with its build quality or feeling of build quality and its feeling of weight. It really does make a huge difference, and it's the first thing I noticed between the two. Another thing, case size wise, the Snowflake is a little bit larger, but it's a lot thinner. The thickness of the GMT comes in at 14 millimeters, whereas the Snowflake is 12.5. Now that's 1.5 millimeters difference, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's on the wrist, you really do feel the difference. And the Snowflake feels like it wears a lot nicer on the wrist compared to the GMT. It just feels like it wears a bit big. But that's not to say the GMT doesn't wear well, because it really does wear well. It's just the Snowflake wears that little bit better. Now, another thing that they both have actually is lug holes. And I think that's an absolutely incredible feature which more watch brands need to do. It makes changing straps, 1, easier, and 2, more enjoyable. Watch companies, please either provide lug holes or start having little pins on the end of your lugs, on the end of your straps even, so you can just change them out really easily. Please, I beg you. Now, another thing where the Snowflake just beats the GMT again is that the Snowflake has 20mm lugs, whereas the GMT has 19mm lugs, which just makes swapping straps and finding straps much easier for the Snowflake as compared to the GMT. I'm not exactly sure why it has 19mm lugs, but I wish they'd done 20. I think it'd have been a lot better. Another big difference, which is, it's a big difference, but they're both incredible, is the dial finishes. You know, the finishing on the dial on both of these is just next level incredible. And I stand by that. I think they're the most beautiful dials on any watch I've ever seen. The Snowflake has this beautiful snow texture when it looks like snow is settled on the ground. It's beautiful. It truly is beautiful. And the GMT has this very sharp, jagged texture to the dial, which just looks incredible with that black and the red of the GMT hand. It works aesthetically so well, and both of them aesthetically work incredibly well, and they're so different in their own right. I think the texturing on the dial is just a subtle detail which comes out when the light's out or when you're truly assessing the watch, and it's just such a beautiful detail. It's like being rewarded for noticing it. You know, when you see it, it's just like, wow. Now, a really big difference again between the two is the movements. Obviously, you've got the spring drive movement in the Snowflake, which I go into a lot of detail in the review, so go check that out. But it's like a revolutionary movement. I would say it's revolutionary, where you have a watch with an incredible power reserve and a completely smooth sweep, and an accuracy which is just beyond anything a mechanical watch can do. It's accurate to +1, -1 a day, which is unheard of. And after experiencing the watch, I can tell you it's even more accurate than that. It's probably losing or gaining about a second every 3 days for me, which is just, it's ridiculous. And to have a mechanical looking movement in the back, you know, a movement where you can turn the watch around and truly appreciate the beauty and still get that kind of accuracy and get a completely smooth sweep, is just, it's incredible. And I truly love it. And I can look past, and it gets a lot of hate because it's not a mechanical watch and it's not a quartz watch. People are not used to it. Whereas I can look past that. I could very happily own a spring drive movement because you're getting the beauty of a mechanical watch, but the reliability and the accuracy of a quartz watch. Like, what more is to be desired? It's just, it's incredible. But that being said, the GMT is not exactly terrible. It's not lagging behind that much. It has a high beat movement which beats at 36,600 or 36,800 beats per hour, which is smooth as anything. It's beautiful. And it has the GMT hand, which is a very, very useful function. And I can't help but appreciate that just as much. It doesn't have a power reserve on the dial, but I don't think it needs it. It has a 55-hour power reserve, which is again more than enough. You know, it's more than average, which an average power reserve is between 38 and 42 hours. So it's giving you a lot more by like 15 to 12 hours. So again, it's definitely still a better movement than average. And it's definitely not to the level of the spring drive movement, but it's completely mechanical, which makes it win, in my opinion, over the spring drive. But yeah, I go into more detail about the movements in each individual review, so make sure you go check them. Another thing which is a very subtle detail, but you notice, is the crown size difference. The GMT has a bigger, more manageable, more functional crown, whereas the spring drive has a smaller yet still very functional crown. I think the GMT, the crown feels nicer to use, it feels more robust. Even though they're both build quality the same, they're both stamped Grand Seiko and they both feel great, I just prefer the GMT hands, crown. Another thing which they are both very similar on is the bracelets, but they're similar on in aesthetic and finishing, whereas build quality wise they're very, very different. Obviously the Snowflake is titanium, so in the bracelet you have pins rather than screws like you do with the GMT. Now, that is because titanium is considered very, very soft to the point where the screws can thread quite easily. Whereas obviously stainless steel is stainless steel, you can have screws, it's fine. Now that makes me enjoy and feel more reliable, make the bracelet feel more reliable on the GMT as opposed to the Snowflake. Another thing I forgot to mention is also the color that the titanium gives off. It gives off like a dull gray. Which is just not very nice in my opinion, and you do notice it, or at least I notice it. I noticed when I looked at the watch, you know, it didn't look as bright and as vibrant and as nice. It almost looked like a dirty stainless steel. That's the best way I can kind of describe titanium, and hopefully next to each other you'll be able to get what I mean. But overall, I think they're both incredible watches, and they tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. And I think if you can look past the brand and the brand image and that kind of stuff, and also resale value, because I think if you pay retail for these and you try and sell on, because of how they're not known and also not as appreciated as they should be, you're going to take a big hit. That's just a given. You know, if you're selling these on, you're going to take a big hit. But I think if you can look past that sort of thing, these are both incredible watches for the money, and I think you get a lot of watch. That being said, they're both 5.5 grand, and if I had 5.5 grand just to slap down on either one of these right now, every single day, all of my money would be going to the GMT, without doubt, because I think the titanium really lets the watch down for me personally. And I also think you're getting a GMT function for the same price as just a brand new movement, which is incredible, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather have a traditional mechanical GMT watch. And I think personally the GMT wipes the floor with a Snowflake. And I feel like a lot of people out there would disagree with that. And I think that's brilliant because it means there's a lot of room for conversation in this comparison, which is obviously the case in most comparisons. I think overall they're both great, and they're both great watches. If I saw anyone with one of these on, I'd respect you a million, because you know your watches if you own a Grand Seiko, in my opinion. But that being said, like I said, the GMT really does destroy the Snowflake, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. What do you think wins this comparison? Do you think the Snowflake with its titanium build and the beautiful, beautiful dial, the power reserve and the spring drive movement just destroys the GMT? Or do you think the GMT destroys the Snowflake? Or are you one of those people who can't decide between the two? You think they're both great, and then both being the same price really makes it difficult for you to choose. Anyway, that's going to do it for my comparison of these two beautiful watches. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. It helps more than you realize. Don't forget to check out my Instagram and also subscribe for more videos. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care and peace out.